guys. Welcome back to the Walleye Files. Our guest today, two-time National Walleye Tour champion, Jason Przekurat. Jason, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, pretty good, Brandon.
It's good to see you, man. It's been a while. Obviously everybody's busy. What have you been up to, buddy?
Well, a little bit of everything. Obviously, in the off season, it's basically starts off with some deer hunting, get that over with, and then you quickly switch over back to fishing and, getting all the contracts signed for the following year, get all your product ordered, figure out what you need, what you don't need. Then the boats come in, and then you start rigging those, and here we are to that time of year, and just a lot of stuff, a lot of things to get done before the season kicks off, and it's never ends, and it's just, besides the boat in the background, that's Jay's boat right there, and I had to get him rigged and ready to go for the season, and now he's back from Florida and got to fix some things that took a beating, and he's headed to the Classic in another week. Yeah, almost a week, next Wednesday. So, yep.
Are you much of an ice fisherman, Jason?
Not really. I do it early ice. I get out a couple times and catch a few crappies here locally, and then I just get 2-3 meals, call her good for the year, and get back to whatever else I'm doing.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of me too. That first couple of weeks, it's like, the bite is really good, the walleyes are moving, the crappies are moving, and everything's active. And after that, it's just a grind to get on them, and it's just like, I'd rather just wait and sit in the boat.
Yeah, I'm one of the guys that just, go through the thin ice as far as you don't have to take much, a hand auger and a little graph and a bucket, and walk out a half a mile and catch unlimited crappies and head home. You don't need to pack much, and it's, I've got 2 big shacks sitting in the shed, and I don't even use them. I mean, you got to have 2 guys to put them in the back of your truck, and if you're out there by yourself, what do you do? So, no, I don't get into it.
Yeah. Jake was here 2 weekends ago now. That was the first time I left my yard to ice fish. We got a big pond in the backyard with some bluegills. Otherwise, I haven't left the house to ice fish in a few years. So,
yeah. I drag him out of bed at 4:30 in the morning. Come on, Brandon, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. When you have it good, when you got 8 to 10 inch bluegills and 14-inch perch in the backyard, it's hard to want to walk out of the driveway.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Jason, for those of you out there that don't know Jason, he's been a pro for a long time. 2000 MWC World Champion, 2003 RCL Angler of the Year, our 2007 FLW Champion on the Mississippi River, 2007 Angler of the Year for FLW. You've had a really long career, but outside of fishing, who's Jason Przekurat?
Who am I? Basically, just grew up here in central Wisconsin on the Wisconsin River system, and I've never left Stevens Point. I've got family here. I've got a couple brothers, and my parents still live here. I've got a sister in Green Bay. But yeah, I just grew up here doing what we do. Obviously, a lot of fishing, and that's always been in my blood. I grew up on a little pond by the house when I was young, and then we moved houses and had another pond to go to. So it didn't matter if I had a boat or not, I was always fishing. And then, when the kids were born, I moved to another house in Stevens Point, and we conveniently got a pond across the street here too. So, the kids were young, they were out fishing, and just love fishing and never thought I'd get to this point in my career where I could do it for a living, but just stayed with it from the crappy years in the 90s to finally making a championship to, winning a few titles here and there, and just made a living out of it. In 2007, I quit my job at the time working for Gander Mountain. I was there for 8 years in Wausau, and quit that job and never looked back, just still doing it, full time today. So got involved with the Next Bite guys 4 or 5 years ago, and been shooting some shows for them, and it's been been a heck of a run. You couldn't ask for a better way to make a living, but never thought I'd be here.
Yeah, you mentioned the next bite. How did that come to be? Like how did you join that crew and get on that on the show? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, most of it came from Gary and Chase. Obviously, they've been with the show since the beginning. It was kind of at a point where Keith Kavais was going to step back and just kind of, I don't want to say retire, but just get away from the TV business. And Gary and Chase approached me to be a co-host on the show. I think it was 5 years ago when they approached me, and I said, yeah, absolutely. You know, we're affiliated with the same boat and motor brands, and I said, let's do it. It'd be fun to get into that business and see what goes on behind the scenes. You know, I did a few shows with them just as a co-host over the years, and to actually be a guy that's kind of in charge of the show is a little different. But yeah, it's fun. You know, tournament fishing and TV world is a lot of the same. It's you have to go out and you have to catch them, and it's amazing how things change when there's a camera on the boat. It's you know it's challenging, but it's fun because you get to see the end of the project when it actually airs on TV and see all the good things that came out.
And when you guys are filming that, how do you choose the bodies of water that you guys end up filming on?
Yeah, a lot of it's just random. Not gonna lie, we just kind of, I don't want to say wing it, but some of the things we do is, you know, we'll ask people on social media where they want us to film or where they want us to come, and some of it is through that, and then some of it is just places that I've never been before. For example, I went to Lake Ontario up by Bay Quinte and Chaumont Bay and all that area. I've been to the Columbia River out in Washington, so it's kind of neat because we can, you know, take a lifelong trip that you never thought you'd go to and make a show out of it. And you know, not always do I like to travel that far, so I've shot shows right here in Wisconsin near my house, and I've shot shows everywhere else. So it's kind of a cool deal to be able to go to places you never thought you'd go.
Absolutely.
So, you know, talking about the tournament scene coming on, you know, we're getting close, right? We're a month and a half out from the first National Walleye Tour event of the season. Previewing your season, what event are you most excited for?
I'm excited for lacrosse. I've always loved the Mississippi River. It's always been good to me over the years. That's where I won my first championship in 2000, and it just fits me well because I grew up on the Wisconsin River. It's just a bigger version of that, and lacrosse is fairly new to me. I've been on the water, caught some bass, but never really concentrated on walleye fishing out there. So, but the thing about the Mississippi is it's pretty much the same no matter where you go. I've been on every pool from pool 2 all the way down to 17, and I've never fished 7 and 8 where the tournament is this year. So I've been on every one of them except those 2. It's gonna be fun because it's new water, and that's always cool when you can go out and figure it out and see new areas, dial them in.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because all the guys that we've talked to that are running this year, everybody's looking forward to that event. And looking at the schedule, I kind of thought that was the event that everybody was going to be dreading. And it seems to be a popular event.
Yeah, I mean, it's just anytime we go to a new body of water, it's a pretty even playing field for all of us. So it's cool to have that, and it's hard to find a new body of water. You know, after doing this for this many years, you've seen a lot of these places, and to actually get to go there. And I know we had one that was supposed to be there a few years back in the FLW, but it got canceled because of hot weather. We were supposed to be there in the middle of summer, and the water temps hit upper 80s, and they canceled it. And, so yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back there and seeing what that place has to offer. I think it should be pretty good.
So, your first title was a Master Walleye Circuit title. You've won a couple Angler of the Years. multiple championships, which is incredible. Not a lot of guys have done that. What win was the most special one?
They're all special, no doubt about it. That first one was just kind of a stepping stone to get my career started, to give me the confidence to know I could compete against some of these good teams. But the most special one to me was the 2016 National Walleye Tour Championship. That was my first Pro-Am championship win. And I was super close several times. I mean, I had commanding leads going into final days of a couple of those championships and just couldn't seal the deal. So when I finally got that one off my back, I was super relieved, man. I'll tell you, I got a picture hanging up right here in front of me about when I weighed in for that one, and I got my hand like this, like, oh my God, the pressure's finally off. I got one. It was awesome.
And that was on Oahe, right?
Yeah, that was out of Mulbridge, 2016, and that was a pretty cool event because it was in August. It was super hot, and the rumor on the street was nobody was catching overs, and we can weigh 2 over 20. I actually got to practice kind of late. I think I was a day late because I had some issues with my boat that needed to get fixed before I left, and I got those fixed. I got to the area and to Mulbridge, and when I found the winning school of fish, it was one of them deals where I was driving from point A to point B, and anytime you see me driving around, I never go full throttle. It's usually 30 miles an hour because I'm learning what's down there as I'm going from point A to point B. And when I crossed through the middle of the river, I found a patch of trees that I didn't know was there, so I just put a waypoint on them. And I thought, I'll just come back to those later. So I went and fished my other spots and eventually came back to those set of trees, and then I just graphed around to see what was there as far as the trees and how they laid out. Set some waypoints down, and I put my lines out to start trolling through there, and I had 4 fish on at once when I hit the trees. And it was a 9-incher, a 16-incher, a 19-incher, and a 26-incher. And I couldn't believe that I had all those different year classes sitting in the same group of trees. And I immediately reeled I had all my lines in, and I texted my guys and I said, game over. I said, I found the winning spot. And this was 3 days before the tournament. And I never went back to check them. And then day one of the tournament came, and I went there, and the wind was blowing hard. I got to the trees, and when I sat down, I could not see a boat anywhere. I was literally in the middle of the river. I could see miles on either side of me, and I thought, man, this is going to be good or really bad. And we started catching it immediately, and for the next 2 days, it was super easy to catch my overs, my unders, and then it was windy those first 2 days, and then day 3, when I had a pretty big lead, it got super flat calm in the hot. And I knew there wasn't going to be good fishing because they bit so good the first 2 days, and I struggled mightily to catch my fish the last day. I caught 2 in another area, not very big. One was just over 20 and one was barely 15. And then I went back. On my way back to takeoff, I had 2 fish in the box. They stopped on a spot that I had checked every day during the tournament on my way in. And just pulled in there and just got to the trees, and I hooked up on a fish, and it was a 23.5-incher and probably weighed, I would guess, 4.5 pounds, and threw her in the box. In the next half hour, I had to come in, and I just knew that fish was going to win me that tournament. And sure enough, I ended up winning by 1.5 pounds. And, just crazy how the weather changed that bite, but I was able to get one good one on the way in and seal the deal on that one.
What's that ride like coming back knowing that you have that bag in your live well?
I think I actually locked the live well when I caught her. I threw her in there, and I remember locking the live wells. I'm like, there's no way these things are getting out of here because we got to get to the ramp. Then we got a trailer into town. And I just knew I had enough fish to win that thing. And there's only been a couple times where I knew I had the winning fish in my live well to win the tournament. And And it's an awesome feeling. There's no doubt. When I won Red Wing in 07, that was a pretty good tournament. I mean, I pretty much dominated that one all in one area. And the last day when I was running in, there was boats honking at me and beeping, and I'm waving and thumbs up. And I had a BP boat, so everybody knew who I was, and you couldn't hide with that thing. So yeah, that was a cool ride in, but yeah, it's a special moment. It doesn't happen very often. I fished hundreds of these tournaments, and it's pretty rare.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing, I think, for somebody who's outside of tournament fishing to understand, is that this is the most losingest sport there is. Even if Kevin Van Dam's fished hundreds of events, he's won 29 times. That's the best there is to tournament fish, in my personal opinion. And it just, the magnitude of winning an event like that, I haven't felt it yet. I want to someday, man. And I'm sure I'll bawl like a baby if it ever happens, because it's one of those things that you're the best you're the best walleye fisherman in the world at that exact moment. Yep. It means a lot to you and everybody around you.
Yeah, it's a rare moment. I mean, you better like defeat when you fish tournaments, because it happens a lot. And you have to take the small victories. A lot of times you're not on much in practice, but you made the best of what was out there for you. And let's just say you took a top 10 when you never should have been even close to cashing a check. Those are small victories for me. I consider that a win. And that's how you got to move forward, is just taking the small victories and learning every day on the water. And if you don't learn something, figure out how to. I mean, learn from the guys that did well. Just talking to them or watching the videos or just anything. I mean, learn by your defeats, and you keep doing that, you're going to eventually get a few trophies, and you're going to have a decent career.
Yeah, that's what I like about this sport too, is like, you could go out and you could be throwing the exact same thing as the guy that just won $100,000 check. You could be doing the exact same thing in the exact same spot, but there's something so small that other angler did correctly that you might not have picked up on, that won him that check. And I just think,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One thing I learned early on in my career was, ironically, from Lake Sharp. Oh God, it was probably 2003, 2002. Had a terrible practice, and my partner that I traveled with asked me, where are you going to start the tournament? I said, I'm going to start on the community hole, which is all I really have going. And I said, I hate even the thought of it. He says, well, so what? I said, what do you mean, so what? He said, well, you just got to know that spot better than the other guys that are going to fish it. And that immediately just kind of hit a light bulb for me. Like, that makes perfect sense. If you know the area better of why the fish are going to be here instead of here on a community hole, or knowing what they want to eat better than something else, you should be able to finish better than other guys in that area. And I've done that a lot. Like, I've fished community holes a lot in my years. I always look for the hidden spots, by yourself. Those are hard to find, I'll be honest with you. If you find them, they're pretty rare, but you're fishing community holes more than you're not. And I mean, I've fished a tournament out of Red Wing out of a community hole, literally within 10 feet of 20 boats all day long, pulling three ways. But there was one particular spot, and it was about a 5 square foot area in that community hole that held the bigger fish. And most of the time I couldn't get to it because there's too many boats. You just kind of go where you could. But once I got where I wanted to be, I'm like, okay, I need to hit this little 5 foot spot dead on. And sure enough, bang, bang, every time I'd go through there. And then I finally caught one that was like 28.5 inches out of it. And, all the guys around me are literally 20 feet away on all sides of me. You're like, oh, you lucky sucker.
Almost giving you a high five.
Rather be lucky than good. But there was actually a sweet spot on there, and anytime I could get my boat to it, I would catch a fish, and that's how it all turned out.
I feel like that fish was on camera.
Yeah, ironically, the camera guy just got in my boat.
In fact, I know that fish was on camera.
Yeah, he just got in my boat, and I made a loop around and got right to that little waypoint, and bang, he hit the dropper on a three-way, and I'm like, holy crap, this is a big one, and it was that 28. I don't even know how big it was, 28, 29 maybe.
Back in the bone collector boat.
That was the bone collector boat.
That was the
funny
coolest
story
wrap
about that is,
ever. That was the coolest wrap ever.
That was pretty nice. I had a bone collector wrap on one side, and then I had hardcore decoy wrap on the other. And when the camera guy got in my boat that we were just talking about, I've known Mike for years, and Mike says, "Hey, who's the guy running around in the bone collector boat?" And I thought he was joking, because he's in the boat. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, I seen that green bone collector boat driving around earlier today." And I'm like, "You're in it?" Because he only saw the hardcore side when he got in my boat, which was yellow. And then the green was on the other side, so he was baffled, and then I caught that big one, and we were laughing. So yeah, that's a funny story.
And that's that was prior to the whole social media age.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like
2012, 13, right in there.
Okay. Yeah. So how has fishing changed post social media? Like all the guys back then in that time frame, you see them running around, you'd see like an M&M boat, your bone collector boat. Nowadays it's wraps with individual small logos on it. I feel like the money isn't necessarily there like it once was.
No, it's not. I mean, the best money time for the walleye world was those mid 2000s to early 2010, 2012. And a lot of that was the FLW, and Walmart was the big sponsor. And, those deals I had with BP and Chevrolet, I had those boats. Those are all sponsored from the tour. So the tour came to the guys and said, "Hey, we want you to represent Chevrolet and then BP." And it was a pretty lucrative deal back then, and made life pretty comfortable. And, that allowed me to quit my job. I mean, to fish full time, and it was awesome. We did a lot of promotional events with those people, and it was good. But you need money to back all that stuff. You need somebody who's gonna take the bull by the horns and get that program running. And FLW had it all set up where they had guys in place to just basically go out and get these sponsors to create a team of anglers to go promote them. And it was awesome. They had it on the bass side, the walleye side. Yeah. I don't want to say they were the good days, because there's still good sponsorships out there, but it's definitely a lot different now that we've grown into the social media world we're in, doing stuff like this. And yeah, it's changed so much over the years. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. How can we grow that? How can we grow the sport from where we are now to where it can be more lucrative for anglers on a national level?
It's basically, number one, it takes money. You need to have financial backing to do it. And that starts with the tournament organizations. And we all know that it's hard to do. It's hard to get the sponsorships to basically back the tournament industry to help promote the products for the companies that are backing them. And then you need somebody to actually do it. You need a person in place to go out and be a salesman for the tournament circuits. That should be their one and only job, is to go out and get new sponsors for the circuit, and then figure out a way to promote both that company and the circuit itself through the anglers. Because with no anglers, there's no tournaments. Vice versa, we don't have a platform. I don't have a job if there's no tournaments to fish. I could probably figure out a way to make a living doing it, but I love tournaments. And, I'm part of the AIM board of directors, and we're always working on that, trying to get new sponsors, trying to stay ahead of the curve and trying to keep the ball rolling. And we've got a lot of things in the works for the future, and it's fun to be behind the scenes on that, to try and get it rolling, but it takes money, it takes people in place to do it. They got to do the hard work. And then we got to, once we get everything established, then you have to create a platform where you have media, you have good coverage. Look at the Bassmaster and what they do with their coverage. It's insane. It's no small project of what they do. I've seen a lot of the behind the scenes of their media centers, and it is impressive. Let me tell you.
I think that's something that the NWT could kind of take from the bass world is cameras in boats. I feel like that's a massive, massive advantage for the Elite Series.
It is, but number one, it comes down to money.
Yeah.
That's an expensive endeavor to get after, is to supply all those cameras and people to run them and to get that live on air while people are watching. So yeah, it's a project. I mean, walleye fishing is never going to be bass fishing. Let's just get that out there, because we are so regionalized. We are a much smaller market, but at the same time, there's a lot of walleye fans. There is a lot of walleye fans. They want to see it, but in order to do it, it's easier said than done. I mean, guys are doing it on their own and trying to stream their day fishing. I mean, we did it. Scott Style, myself, Mark Kortz, Kevin McCoy, we all did it way back in the FLW days. We streamed our days on the water. This is way before its time. Scotty Style actually designed the whole idea of how to do it. And it was very expensive for us out of pocket to do it. But it was awesome. I mean, I caught a 10-pounder on camera in Red Wing. And when I looked at my little computer head in the boat, there was 1,100 people watching me when I caught that fish. And I actually took that idea to some of my better sponsors at the time, and none of them were going to back it, which kind of blew my mind. I think it was a little too ahead of its time, actually, because that's what everybody's doing now.
Yep.
And it was a great idea, but it was thought of a little too early. Is bottom line. So yeah, it can be done.
So you touched a little bit on the AIM series, and I've, living in Minnesota, I've done quite a few of the AIMs over the years. The catch, record, and release, is that something that you could see going to a national level tour, or are you a proponent of, sticking to live weigh-ins?
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is I do love catch, record, release. I was one of the first 7 guys to start AIM when it was a thought in our heads to get this thing going, and recruited a bunch of people to become investors to start the company, and everybody that fishes a CRR format loves it, because you're not dealing with any dead fish penalties. You're fishing bodies of water where you have no slot limits, you have no size limits. It just makes life as a fisherman so much more relaxing. Is it nice to bring 5 fish to the scales? Yeah, kind of. But at the same time, you know how hard it is to keep 5 fish alive if you're traveling 40 miles in big waves, and you're worried about a dead fish penalty. It's going to cost you an angler of the year, and it's just stressful. So, ideally, I'd love to see it all go to catch, record, release, and it's just a lot. It allows us to fish more bodies of water. Period.
Absolutely.
For sure. I think there's a reason we can't go to places like Fort Peck and
absolutely,
anywhere in Minnesota, really.
Yes, it's it's hard.
I mean, Mille Lacs is a phenomenal body of water. I mean, it's got its problems, no doubt, but Mille Lacs is a phenomenal body of water, and I don't remember the last time a major tour has stopped there just because you can't keep fish out there. I mean, rules are changing now, but starting to slowly. But I mean, you could go out there and I mean, really put together a nice bag.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the places we've been when you can only keep 2 over 20 or whatever it is. That's no fun. Now when you have the capability of going to catch 5 27-inch or bigger fish, and you end up throwing them back because you already got 2 overs. It's not a lot of fun.
You're exactly right.
And then you're going to look for little tiny ones to catch. You know, that's where the catch, record, release could work and allow more bodies of water to fish. Not worried about killing them, and there's no downside to that format.
Yeah, I always felt like a tournament should be, you know, the best angler or the angler that can catch the 5 biggest fish.
Right.
You know, it just, to me, I'm right with you there, Jason. I really like the catch, record, and release personally.
Yeah. I mean, even the tournament I won in Hawaii in the championship, when I just told the story earlier, was I had my 2 overs in the boat the first day, and one of them wasn't very big, but the other one was a big one. Then I proceeded to catch another over, which would have helped me, and another over, which would have helped me, and another over, which would have helped me. And you just keep throwing 5 and 6 pounds back at a time. And those are the fish you need for the next day, which hopefully are still there. But that's another good reason for CRR is you're throwing these fish back, so now you can go back the next day and hopefully catch them again. And you know, versus beating your spot to death and there's no fish left by day whatever. I guess we only have 2-day tournaments now, so it isn't so bad. But back in the 4-day tournaments, you had to manage those fish, and that was hard.
100%.
So, other than the fact that it's your livelihood, because obviously that's a huge motivating factor, is you are fishing for a living, that's what you do. What keeps you motivated?
I'm a competitive guy, always have been, as far as, you know, I used to play so many sports growing up, and I'll tell you this story. When I got out of playing baseball after school, and then I played a lot of softball, which took up 4 nights a week plus weekends, and I'd be sitting at a baseball diamond waiting for my next game on a Saturday. And it's 70 degrees and there's 5-mile-an-hour wind, and I'm sitting on the grass waiting for the next game, and I'm thinking, I need to go fishing. I'm wasting my time here playing baseball. So I basically quit cold turkey. I never played another game. I haven't thrown a baseball in I don't know how long. And I started fishing and never looked back. And that's kind of been my driving force through all these years, is I just want to. I never fish against Brandon or whoever's fishing against me. I fish just me against the fish. My favorite time of the day is when I take off and I start heading to wherever I'm going, and then it's just me against 5 walleyes. That's all I think about. And that's my peaceful time. That's the easiest part of my job, is fishing. You know, trying to do all the other stuff that people don't see, with getting all this stuff ready and getting sponsorships and dealing with everything else on the home front. That's the hard part. It's fishing that's easy. But when you combine fishing, which is fun, and then just taking care of that competitive edge and trying to beat 5 fish and bring them in, and hopefully you got the 5 biggest, that drives me. It just keeps driving me. I know, I love fishing, man. I don't care if I'm catching big bluegills or if I'm chasing big walleyes or watching bass fishing or catching bass. I love catching every fish that swims, so it's never going to leave.
Do you have any superstitions when it comes to tournaments?
No, never really got into that. No.
So we can bring bananas in your boat, is what you're saying?
Don't care.
So you talked about catching bass, and I think we got to touch on it just for a second, because there's a beautiful rig right over your shoulder.
Yeah.
You have spawned, for the lack of a better word, one of the best bass fishermen in the country. For those of you who don't know, you probably should I don't know, open Facebook or
Climb
check.
out.
Seriously, like wake up. Jay Shakirat, Jason's son, is on the Bassmaster Elite Series. What's it like traveling to those events as a father, as somebody who watched him grow up? Obviously, him and I kind of similar in the fact that we spent a lot of time on the other side of that stage watching our dads walk across. So, what's it feel like being the spectator once in a while?
It's surreal. It's unbelievable. I gotta go back in this conversation a few minutes back when you said what was your favorite tournament or favorite one that you won, and it's actually the one Jay won in St. Lawrence River, easily, hands down, because that was an event where we were fishing on Green Bay in a tournament. I got done with that day. On the final day, I got home, redid my suitcase, got in a truck, drove to Illinois, got in with Jim Schiefelbein, drove to Michigan. Aaron Amber from Whitewater jumped in the truck. Jay's girlfriend, now fiance was with us. And we drove all night to get to wherever we were, Clayton,
Yep.
New York. Yeah, I think it was out of Clayton. And we got there at about 10:30 in the morning, and of course we watched Bass Track the whole time we were driving, and then knew he was going to win. And then I got to the takeoff, or where he was going to check in, and when he came around the corner, he was one of the first ones to come in that day. And when he rolled around the corner, I lost it. I freaking lost it. Like, I was doing an interview behind the trailer with another writer, and when I saw that boat come around the corner, and that was so much more enjoyable than winning a championship. It was, you can't even describe it. So yeah, just to see, because it was a culmination of a lot of things. That was his first year on tour. So things had to go right for him to survive that first year. I mean, we had no time to get him up and going for that season, literally a month and a half, from the time he qualified to the time he was heading to the first event. You have to get sponsorships and a different boat, a different truck, and just the financial part of it was overwhelming for both me and him. And I didn't support him at all as far as dollars go. He did it all himself. And when he won that tournament, it was just like, oh my God, he's free and clear. Because if he had a crappy first year, that would have been really tough on the finances. And when you fish under stress like that, it's hard to do. You need to have enough both support from the family side and from the financial side to do it comfortably, where you're going to be able to fish normal. Because if you're fishing under stress, it's so hard. I've done it. I've been through it before, where the years have been tough, and my wife was battling breast cancer, and you just don't fish right. And that was my worst finish of the year. I think I finished 36th in points. And so yeah, when he won that one, that was awesome. But to answer your question about seeing him do what I like to do is pretty cool. It's not because I forced him. It's just something he loved to do when he was 2 years old. He would love to go on the boat and just catch anything, and he just loved it. We would drop him off at the river underneath the train bridge at 5 at night and pick him up at dark. And he still wanted to keep casting, but mosquitoes are so bad we had to pull him out of there. I mean, it's just what he loves to do. He just never got into games. He never, he played a lot of baseball growing up, but I think once he hit, sophomore year in high school, he's like, oh, don't want to play baseball anymore. I want to fish. And he just took off from there. It was a quick career and a quick start, and he's doing extremely well.
And he's got every walleye angler watching him too. It's so funny. I mean, every walleye angler that I've talked to can get behind Jay.
A lot of walleye guys are now bass fans. It's crazy, them are the same guys that hated bass, and bass are easy, and now they're all watching it and rooting them on, and it's cool to see. Really, really cool.
You and I have talked about it. I feel like, I've definitely gotten yelled at work once or twice from watching Bass Live, and I've definitely gotten a lot of messages from my dad, Jason Fifth. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm on nights. Please stop waking me up.
Yeah.
Jason third. Okay.
A lot of text
But,
messages during tournaments for me. I mean, they're all guys that all play fantasy fishing. They all want to know if Jay's on them. And then when the tournament starts, and oh, does Jay have a marshal today? He has no fish. And then I gotta tell him, yeah, he's got no marshal. So yeah, it's never ending, but it's awesome. I mean,
Oh,
it's,
guys, if you are out there and you are wondering if Jay's on fish, the answer is yes. Just pick him. My wife kicks my butt in fantasy fishing because she picks him every damn time.
it's pretty impressive to see what. I mean, I don't talk to him during practice. I just let him do his 3 days of practice, and then we usually touch base the day before the tournament or the night before the tournament to kind of get an idea of what he's been doing and what he's up against and what he feels like. And I don't ever want to get in his head like, oh, you should do this or do that. Or, I mean, we can't even talk to him per the rules anyway, so it doesn't do me any good to do any of that. So, yeah, basically it's talk the night before the tournament, figure out how he's feeling, and it's pretty neat to see a lot of times when he's struggling, even on Okeechobee here last week, he had a bad practice, and he's like, I caught 3 fish in 2 days, and the biggest one was 3 pounds, and he's like, I don't know, and he just puts it together as the tournament progresses. He does that very, very well. Like, he understands what he has in front of him and makes the best of it. And there's been a lot of tournaments where he's had a bad practice, but somehow put it together.
I feel like it's all in your adjustments, and that's what tournament fishing is. I've had some really great events, or I've won some practices for sure, and just don't make the adjustments in the tournament. And the guys that are like that, like Jay, like yourself, I think about guys like Mike Goffron and Scarless, and some of them, just the best of all the best, are all the guys that make all the best adjustments and all the right decisions on game day.
Yeah, it changes constantly. You know how it is. And I think walleyes is the biggest. Those fish change more than any fish that I've ever chased. They will change on you daily. I mean, it's almost guaranteed you're not going to get them in the same spot 2 days in a row. And you got to be able to adjust on the fly, adjust to the conditions. Guys used to ask me, where are you going to start tomorrow? And I always say, don't even ask, because I'm not going to know until probably 10 minutes before takeoff, because I want to look at the conditions, kind of figure out a game plan on what I think the fish are going to do from whenever I was there last. And then if I start the day and it's not happening, you're going to need to make your second adjustment or your second decision. And it's all about decisions. You take a right instead of a left, and the guys that took the left are in the top 10, and you went to the right, and well, those are decisions, and you made a wrong one. You got to be consistently making good decisions.
Right. Then you've fished at a really high level for a long time now. What do you think is the biggest contributor of being able to stay at the top of your game for as long as you have?
Well, this will be my 26th year fishing Pro-Am events. I fished 4 years of MWC before that. And I don't know. I think it's just, it goes back to knowing a spot better than the other guys, first of all. I never, ever, ever fish an area that's brand new to me. I never fish it before I look at it. I will always scan the whole area and basically know what's down there before I even make a cast. Most times I'll just drive away and then I'll come back later to fish it, because then I know what's there. But just knowing the structure you're on is number one. That'll give you a lot of consistency of not just aimlessly fishing an area because it's a good area. Knowing that little sweet spot is pretty important. And, I think between that and just, being prepared, I'm probably one of the most prepared guys going into tournaments, and I'm very organized, I'm very prepared. I spend a lot of hours getting everything exactly the way I want it. There's nothing worse than getting in a boat that's cluttered, got stuff laying all over, your retie lines before takeoff, and no, that's not me. I've got all that all nailed down the night before, and I get to the bull ramp super early in the morning. I just want to settle in and get comfortable and start looking at conditions and getting my mindset right. And it's treated me well. I've had a good career.
You sure have.
Mhm.
You sure have. What do you think, Jay? We've got 45 minutes in. We have any more questions for Jason?
Man, we could keep.
We could talk
yeah,
for
we could-
hours.
we
We could
could
ask you
keep going.
questions for days. Oh gosh. So
No,
what's the
we're-
best? I got one good one. Then we can end it on this one. Over your career, whether it's beginning of your career, or the last 5-10 years, what's the best piece of advice anybody's ever given you?
Oh, there's a bunch of them over the years that I can think of. Back in my early years, I am old. I'm 54 now, so I'm getting up there, but I still feel good. My body's in good shape. But early on it was big on, I learned that you should invest in your future. And I really didn't know what that meant early on, but quickly learned. If you win some money, for example, if you come across a win and you win $100,000, what are you going to do with that $100,000? Are you going to pay off the truck and whatever, or are you going to reinvest in your fishing career? For example, what you guys are doing, you have money invested in your media equipment. That's a great example of investing in your future, just to try and help promote yourself and that kind of thing. But I would say probably the number one thing is just be yourself. You're not going to change who you are. I mean, I am who I am. I've been this way since I started. Jay is who he is. He's not going to change. He's not Gerald Swindle. Gerald Swindle's been him since the beginning. He is a comedian. He is funny. Just be yourself, and I think you can go places. And then probably one other thing was, a lot of guys get caught up in sponsorships. If you're starting out in this career and you're worried about sponsors and trying to make the National Walleye Tour or whatever circuit you want to fish, the last thing you need to worry about is sponsorships, period. That should be the last thing on your mind. You should have it planned already that you have enough money to fish whatever you want to fish and go catch fish. That's your job. You do that enough times, the sponsors are going to come. I've seen it right here with this boat behind me, this bass boat. I taught him that right away. Like, your job is to go catch fish and do well. Sponsors are going to notice you really fast if you do that. And if you're a good person and you don't get in trouble and, just be you're going to be fine. And within, he's been doing it now 3 years full time. He blew by me in sponsorships already in 3 years. So do your job is to go catch fish. Just do that and everything else will follow.
And I feel like your family is really good at the catching the fish part for sure.
Well, it doesn't come with a lot of practice, a lot of time on the water. We fish a lot. I don't fish as much as I used to, but I still get out quite often. When I say Jay fishes a lot, yeah, he fishes a lot. He is out there. My God. It don't matter how cold it is, if it's raining, hot, sunny, he's out fishing, he's learning something. And that's how you get better. You get better, he wasn't a good skipper with a bait casting reel when he was 16 years old. We can hardly do that stuff around here because we got snow and ice half the year. But yet he was off the patio flipping to the red Solo Cup in the wintertime. And I tried to teach him as much as I could about what I know. And he took it to heart, and he spent a lot of time trying to master the craft, and he's done good.
Awesome, dude. We appreciate you being on. There's a lot of knowledge here. Everybody soak it in. Good luck for your 2025 season, Jason. Hopefully,
Yeah,
yeah. But thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you guys later.
see you guys.
Peace.